All right. I got my Courvoisier and lots to say. So, yeah, today I rode the scooter outside for the first time. As I expected, cornering that right angle on that ramp, it wasn't easy. I managed it, but I don't, I put some marks on the scooter, but superficial marks. Um, go to the doctor's office, and holding true to the legendary Steve Barton luck, I take one road most of the way there. I'm on a new vehicle. I don't like the whole idea that you don't have a brake. You just let go of the gas and it stops. And your accelerator is like a little wheel. And because it's for old people, it's cutesy. It's got a turtle and a rabbit on it. So, like if you want to slow down, you don't ease up on the throttle. You just turn this wheel. Weird. It's hard to get used to. But anyways, the main road that I have to use is all getting ripped up for construction, or for repaving rather. So I'm like bouncing around on the damn thing, and it redirects me a couple of times because this is the first time I rode this scooter. So it redirects me a couple of times, slams me by slamming me into the curb, because if there's like a little like even depression or something like that, you don't even have to turn. It just like turns for you. And I was like, okay, that's going to take some getting used to. So I slammed into the curb a couple of times. And it's incredibly slow. I mean, it's supposed to top out at 5.34 miles, I think, or something like that. But I must have been flying on an electric bike a lot faster, because it felt like I was going 6 times faster on the electric bike. That's the last vehicle that I rode before I rode that thing. And my leg was killing me, and I had no sleep and stuff. But I was like, yeah, I set up this appointment for 11, and they were like, you know, the doctor is still on his family emergency, but you can call us at the last second and cancel if you need to or whatever. And I'm like, that'd probably be a very bad idea, because I should get antibiotics in me. And there was like a little tiny hang up in there where she was questioning. It was like, wait a minute, you're taking Xarelto? You know? I don't know if I did that to myself by saying something about aspirin. Because she was asking, what are you taking for pain, or what do you have for pain? I don't really, oh yeah, that's how that happened. I don't really have anything except for ibuprofen and aspirin, and you're not supposed to take aspirin because it thins your blood. And I'm like, oops. And then she looked in the file and she's like, wait a minute, you're taking Xarelto? I'm like, I'm not taking it now. I haven't been taking it for a long time. I was just honest with her, and she's like, well, maybe you should call your cardiologist and ask him if you should be taking some baby aspirin or something. And I'm like, then I was dishonest, and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get right on that. But no, I ain't doing that. Just take like regular aspirin, um, and then quit a couple of days before I go to the dentist. I only go to the dentist on Wednesday, but she was super sympathetic. I think she's something called a nurse practitioner, but she has the power of the pen, can write scripts. So, I was worried that it would be a wasted trip. I was super stressed about messing with that damn scooter and a phone that like craps out on me at the same time. And, like, I wasn't too sure about riding that scooter, like how that was going to go. And then I could only find one shoe. It's like all my other shoes I threw in bags due to the bedbug crisis. So I have one pair of shoes in the house, and I can only find one shoe. So I'm all stressed out about that. And then I can't find my phone. I'm all stressed out anyway, so I'm looking for my phone. I don't even know if my phone works yet, because I told him I'd call either way, whether I could make the appointment or not. And but yeah, I'm like, I have one shoe, so I had to wear slippers in there, which felt a little weird. And then I had trouble getting the slippers on because my socks was too fat and the slippers are too small. And so the whole fucking morning was super stressful and retarded. I mean, and then I get on a road that's like ripped up, literally ripped up, getting ready to be repaved. You know how there's that little lip when you get onto a normal road? It had that little lip, and then there was like a paving um, going on, like on a street next to it. And I'm like, man, I hope I get out of this appointment before they pave over that road, because I'm gonna have to go like way around, and it's gonna take me a long time to get home because that's like a direct route to and from the doctor's office. But anyways, back to the appointment. As I go in there and lie to her about calling the cardiologist, who I've never even, I don't. Her name's on a piece of paper or somewhere. Her name's Christina Christino. I mean, I'm not gonna forget the name, but I ain't doing that. Um, but my leg hurting today worse than it ever hurt. You know, so I'm like, uh, she's super sympathetic because she said, "Man, nothing hurts worse than a tooth pain," and she was like a strange, very beautiful Asian mix of something or another. I mean, she was just interesting, and you know, I mean, she was an odd character, but she was like, "Yeah, oh man, I had an abscess tooth once when I was going through my pregnancy, and I couldn't take anything for it. So she was like, "What kind of pain pills do you like?" I wasn't expecting that. She was like, "You want some tramadol?" And I'm like, "I think I took tramadol before, but I'm like, I don't really like tramadol." And she says, "Well, how about some codeine?" I'm like, "Sure." She said, "Well, I'll write you a script just to take you through till next Wednesday." I'm like, "Okay." And then she was like, she took like one look at the tooth in question. She didn't get the whole picture of the disaster, the Titanic sinking inside my face. But that was enough for her. She saw the one tooth and she was like, "Yeah." She just did it right away. I mean, actually, my appointment was for 11. I got there at 10:30 because I gave myself extra time because I didn't know what riding that scooter was going to be like. So I got there at 10:34, and they took me in early, and I got home. My appointment was for 11, and I got home at 11:25 with a script for codeine and a script for antibiotic, which is what I wanted. So, except for the road being ripped to shit and me running off of it a couple of times into the sidewalk and me banging the arm of the chair and wiping off some of the paint, trying to do that corner on the ramp on the way home. Um, yeah, good morning. So I'm sitting here, I'm drinking my Courvoisier, which is just the coffee that I didn't get to drink this morning because my nerves are fucking fried. Cause I'm shoeless Joe Jackson, man. I got one fucking shoe, and I don't know where the other shoe is, and I couldn't walk around this morning because my leg was so bad to find the other shoe. So I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, it would be really good right now to celebrate, a successful journey and all that. It's like I could drink some of the coffee that didn't get to drink, and I got all these sweets that I could eat. You know, Sweets and coffee go good together. I just won't chew on the one side of the mouth, or I'll just pay the consequences. These things are weird. I don't. They send them in my Meals on Wheels things. I don't even know what they are or what they're supposed to be, but they're pretty neat. And I already ate all the cookies and other stuff that I had to drink with the coffee. But so I'm feeling pretty good, emotionally anyway. And I'm starting to hear water hit my ceiling. I'm like, motherfucker, and there's no question it's not water like through the pipes. It's water hitting the ceiling. This is very bad because I just had my buddy come over and tape up all the holes for hornets. Okay? And I'm waiting and I'm looking and I'm waiting for the tape to fall off of the ceiling, or, it might even have already done damage. I don't know where the water was hitting the ceiling at. I don't know how bad it is. I'm listening to it, and I don't know if it's a pipe. I don't know what's going on. It's not dying down, and I'm like, motherfucker, I got to go upstairs, and there's like these, I don't know how many steps, but you got to go up some steps this way, some steps that way, and some steps that way. My leg is hurting worse today than it's ever hurt, and I'm like, when I was getting my coffee, I about fell down, and I was like, man, I'm staying in bed. Fuck it. So didn't get to didn't get to do that. So I go upstairs, man. Bang, bang, bang on the door. I can hear people inside there, and they're the illegal boarders. Hey, illegal boarders, how you doing up there? Why don't you answer the fucking door? But anyways, I just wanted to ask him. I don't give a fuck. I don't give a fuck about this place at all. But I just wanted to ask him, like, did you overflow something, or is this a pipe? Is this an emergency? So I'm banging on the door. I said, man, this is the dude from downstairs. This is Steve from downstairs. I met both of them before. And you know what it is? I'm smelling crack. That's what I'm smelling. That's why I didn't want to answer the fucking door. Because I'm like, yeah, I know that smell. Because I don't want to say who, but a close person to me had that habit, and I was around it. And I've told that story before, where I was like in a car, and this woman offered to get me high and give me a blowjob. Said I could have had a master blaster, and I'm like, I could have been a little midget on a big gigantic guy, and I could have been in like Thunderdome and fought like Mel Gibson before he hated Jews. No, Master Blaster apparently was like street lingo at the time for like you get high, and when it peaks, you have a sexual thing. You get a blowjob, you have a sexual thing going on. So I know what I've been around crack. I know what crack smells like. It's like I told that guy who had the crack dealer outside. It's like, I got experience with that shit, man. You can't tell me nothing I don't know about it. It's like I bailed a guy out of jail over that. It's like I know him, I've been around it, smelled it, you know. That's what that shit's about. You shouldn't ought to be doing that shit, you know. And yeah, that pissed me off because all they had to do was answer a simple fucking question. Instead, they wouldn't answer the fucking door, you know. It's getting me pissed off right now thinking about it because I don't want to jam nobody up, but you got to answer the fucking door. Well, it's if you're gonna lay low, you don't walk around and make noise when somebody's hammering on your fucking door like the cops. And I'm telling them, I just want to know what's going on. Did you overflow something or whatever? But they're fucking off in crack land or whatever the fuck they're doing up there. Now I don't fucking give a fuck, man. I get to have one. I had such a stressful morning. Then things go right, and then I'm sitting there and enjoying a peaceful moment of pleasure, which I get very little of those. My teeth aren't yelling at me, particularly, and then this shit happens. So I was texting the dude in the wheelchair next door, and I'm like, well, that was my first trip today, and so I knocked on his door since I was knocking up. I assumed he heard me knocking and yelling upstairs, but he was had the music on and was playing the computer. And I said, man, if you want to, you can check out that scooter right now. And he goes, no, I'm in the middle of a tournament. And I told him, I said, didn't you hear me like yelling and knocking on the door upstairs? He's like, no. And I'm like, told him what was happening. And he said he would text Michelle about it. And she's the one whose name is on the lease. So you know, maybe she'll get on these people. But man, I am the wrong motherfucker to piss off, man, especially these days, because I got my control is slipping with my luck and the stupidity of my existence. Okay, I am the wrong motherfucker to piss off right now. And you just answer a simple goddamn question like, "Oh, we overflowed the toilet." Just say that. See, now there's no water dripping up there now. Now, I'm waiting for like the cardboard to fall in, and then that my friend put in, and because the water tends to run to the same areas in the ceiling and stuff. And oof. And I've been awake since 9:45 last night. I couldn't go to sleep, and I couldn't get into anything, productive. I went through this book, and I listened to part of it, and I was like, damn it, I have to redo the part about the psychology of Nazism over again. And I figured something out is like when you're reading something that's abstract or difficult to bring out the meaning of it, especially in this guy's long sentences, you got to emphasize words that are juxtapositioned with each other. And I was reading it like I was sleepwalking through it. And I was listening to other parts of it where I was reading it good. And I'm like, man, I don't want to really redo this. But, I went through it and I was reading it aloud last night. Not recording it, but just marking it with a pencil, like which word should be emphasized, where the pauses should be, and stuff like that. It's not an easy thing doing a good job unless you're gifted or an actor or something like that. As far as you have to practice it. You have to like read it through a few times. I saw a show about Anthony Hopkins where he memorizes he literally memorizes his lines. He memorizes it. And they were talking about his performance in Westworld, the HBO series. I don't know, a little bit, slightly, or a little bit over pretentious for me, but superb show, all in all. And they were talking about, like, he knew his lines so well, and they like displayed a scene from it. Maybe I'll post it underneath this. And they were talking about the nuances he was able to throw into the scene. Somebody's ringing my phone. I better check and see who it is. So, I better get this. Yeah, that's pretty much it anyway. I put up that thing about Anthony Hopkins, and I'm sorry about this. Bye-bye. I'm sorry. I don't know what that was. That was something about a warranty. It could be about the warranty on the scooter that I rode, because technically, um, it has a warranty in it, you know, and you can register it online, which I tried to do, but it didn't work. I tried to do that this morning. But anyway, I just wanted to continue what I was talking about. It's like when you're dealing with something that's like, I won't say difficult to understand, because that sounds like, difficult. I'll say difficult for me to understand, okay? You can emphasize certain words to get the meaning through of the passage, especially if you're dealing with a sentence that's longer than an elephant's dick. Okay? That's what I'm figuring out. This is a learning process, me reading these books. And hopefully, if my voice holds out, I'll get better at it. I'll figure it out. And my goal ultimately is, of course, to read my own novel, because all you got's your story. And my novel is basically a very fictionalized account of my life and psychology. So that's kind of what I'm heading towards. But you don't, like with that scooter, you just don't get good at something right off. You have to work at it, you know. It always surprises me. Like if you ever find something where you're good at it right away, do that thing. You know what I mean? Because uh, again, I hate to refer to Stephen King all the time, but the guy is a garrulous dude, man. He's always doing interviews and stuff, and he's entertaining. And I kind of like grew up reading his books in the 70s, so I got an affection for him because, I was like, I don't know, 10, 11, 12 years old reading Cujo and Carrie and his books from the 70s. But he's like, if you have talent, it erases all the other questions. If you're good at something, you got to do it, you know. But everything else you have to learn. You might have a certain amount of aptitude for it, but I mean, it's like uh, the story of Babe Ruth. The Babe Ruth supposedly, um, he was in a reform school, and they fictionalize this in movies a lot. But he had no clue on how to hold a bat or how to do anything. You know, nobody ever taught him how to do any of that shit. So he's got his hands like separated. And, he don't know what he's doing. But then like it just kind of comes to him, and he figures it out. And there's the guy that's pitching to him is like a priest, and he says, "Oh, you're gonna try to hit the," because he swings really hard and awkwardly, and he says, "Oh, you're gonna try to hit the long ball off of old Father Matthias." And of course, he starts hitting the ball through windows and stuff like you know 400 feet away when he's a kid. That idea of talent, it renders everything else meaningless. Like that is what you were put on earth to do. That Babe Ruth was put on earth to hit. That's what he was meant to do, was to play baseball. So if you ever have something like that, you just do it. Like um, as far as me and writing, I mean, I discovered that I could write by accident. It wasn't something that I set out to do. And George Orwell said he did his first serious writing when he was 30, and I was like, oh, that's a coincidence. That's when I did my first serious writing, is when I was 30. That's when I figured out that, hey, I can do this, you know. But I don't really consider myself a writer anymore because I don't I haven't written anything for a billion years. I mean, if you stop doing something, you're no longer it, you know. Like I used to be able to run, but I'm not a runner anymore. you know, you know what I'm saying? Um, yeah, I'm sleep deprived. But yeah, see, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to spike the water bill to draw attention. I almost, it was pretty bad, the water coming through, or the water coming hitting the ceiling. It was so bad that I almost contacted the evil, insidious Gerald and told him about it, and like, you need to address the situation upstairs, because I thought my ceiling was going to start falling in and shit. Because it's done that before, where pieces of the ceiling fell in because people were overflowing stuff. But this was probably like an overflowed toilet, or, overflowed something or another. But I went up there, man, and I was like, crack. It smelled like crack to me. And I don't know if Chris was home. I don't know what Chris is up to these days at the war vet, because he didn't answer the door. I was beating the fuck out of them other people's door, and his door is like right next to it. So maybe he got a job or something. I don't know. Good for him. Or maybe he's pissed at me. Good for me. Be pissed at me. I don't care. Uh, but yeah, that occurs to me. I did not want a cigarette when I got out of the doctor's office. I always want a cigarette when I get out of the doctor's office. But yeah. So now Like I said, I got 9 problem areas in my face. I don't, if I have 7 teeth pulled, and you start out with 32 teeth, and you get your wisdom teeth pulled, you have 28. That means I got like 19 teeth left. So nearly 50% of my teeth got problems. More than 50% because I got cracking and stuff here. Like I made a quip, when because I didn't want to explain my whole situation to the dentist. So she was like, "Why are your teeth all broken up like that?" And I was like, "It's because I got a bad attitude." And she started laughing. She pointed at the dental technician. She was like, "This guy's quick." Because I had said something else that was off the cuff and somewhat humorous or whatever. But the real reason why I have bad teeth is it's not only a hereditary thing, but ridging of the fingernails and ridging of the teeth, and it's all related to CRPS. But I didn't even write that down in my chart. That's just like, they're going to be like, what's that about? It's unknown to us and freaky. Therefore, we don't want you as a patient. So I told them as little about me as I could get away with. And I'm going to keep them in the dark when I go in there next Wednesday. I'm going to further keep that particular doctor in the dark about why I haven't been in there, and the whole blood thinner thing, and the heart episode that I had, and how I got out of the hospital like about a month ago from when I'm gonna, today's the 18th. I got out of the hospital on the 16th. My appointment's for the 23rd, so I'm not even writing that down. If they make me fill out more papers, which I thought about it, and I'm like, yeah, it's been almost a year since I've been into the dentist, because, the person on the phone said, you haven't been in here for quite a while. Like, not since December. And I thought about it, and I was like, oh, December is when I had my last appointment. That's when I canceled from the ER when I was going to get my heart shocked. So I was like, okay. Um, almost slip of the tongue there, but it's like, must have been in November. It's already October. If it's more than a year, I don't know. But yeah, I mean, this stuff don't really cut it. But I've only had like some serious tooth pain. Like I don't know. I haven't had any sign of an abscess or anything like that. But I'm still taking the antibiotics. So I can get something done when I go in there on Wednesday, and in case they'll be like, well, can't pull your tooth, gotta have antibiotics, because anytime you feel pain in your tooth and it's not just sensitivity or something like that, usually it means you got a problem in the root. Hey, that don't feel too good, come to think of it. um, so yeah, usually they just like, here's some antibiotics, come back in 3 or 4 days. This way I can get started right away. I do feel like an enormous, even though these motherfuckers, I do feel an enormous lifting of mood, um, because this is getting the process started. Now, if this lady's reliable, I haven't gotten a call from the pharmacy. I actually get text messages from the pharmacy saying when I get my scripts in. But, you know, the doctor's closed at 12 noon today. So it's 1:37. I'll start to get worried maybe later tonight that I'm not going to get my antibiotics and my codeine. Which the codeine probably not even necessary. I mean, I don't know what opiates do for your heart or whatever, but I haven't even been taking the gabapentin for 2 3 weeks because I took them that one night and I didn't. I'm like, I don't like the way these are making my heart feel. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna stick to Valium and the blood pressure pills. You know, it's kind of funny today. Is like I was like, I don't want to take a blood pressure pill because I'm going to get sleepy from that. I know I'll get sleepy from that. I've been up since 9 o'clock last night. Uh, my appointment is for 11, and I'm going to get sleepy. I don't want to be sleepy when I'm in there. So um, I just kept one in my pocket. You know, I forgot all about it. And they took my blood pressure. They took it with an old-fashioned weird cuff though. But he said my blood pressure was 110. I could hardly believe it. I'm like, 110 after the morning I had where I found one fucking shoe, and I don't know where. How can you find one shoe? You find one sock in the dryer. You don't find one shoe in your bedroom. If you took your shoe, I did not take a shoe off in another room and then take a shoe off in the bedroom. That doesn't make any sense. So I had to wear slippers, and then I was running around looking for my phone and not being able to find my phone, not knowing if my phone was working. You know, I had this big stressful morning, so why in the hell was my blood pressure that low? I'm just thinking that the cuff was defective. She's like, I got to get you. I guess the cuff on the wall didn't work, and you're like, I got to get you old-fashioned type anaconda blood pressure cuff. But anyways, um, yeah, you know, I have a tendency to talk too much, anyways. But yeah, I was way too stressed out to do much work. Um, uh, you know, I did a little bit of work. I got to redo that chapter. That chapter's only about an hour. I got to redo that chapter and get more familiar with it and do a better job with it. And other parts of it, like, you know, also I'm substituting words in it and stuff. You know, instead of saying confronted in one part of it, I say comforted. I don't think anybody was comforted by the Nazi ideology unless they were German and not Jews or Gypsy Germans, or, you know, people that were considered inferior or genetic garbage. Germans were comforted by it. So, you know, you can't make mistakes like that and just leave them stand. And there's other, it was just read without enthusiasm too, or without any energy. I think what I did is I just overworked. You know, like like this other part's like an hour and 27 minutes long, and it's like killer for like the first 50 minutes, high energy and stuff, and then, you know, the energy level goes down because I'm just sitting there reading and reading and reading. And I remember when I used to talk to my sister, she's like, "Man, that's got to be tough reading for like 20 minutes at a time." I used to do that for the kids at school. And yeah, try 120 minutes at a time. What that does to your voice. Um, but yeah, I still got Mr. Orwell's book to do. And it's a little tiny thing. See how little it is in comparison with this other book, girth-wise. The thing I like about this book is it's black on white, man. Not black on old gray. That's an old book there. But this is like, you know, big print, black on white. It's 139 pages. Man, I ought to read you that part in there about the shit. I could find that part about there where see, this is why you gotta prepare shit, is because you get these spontaneous ideas, and the light's clear over there. And spontaneous ideas only work if you have the axe and the wood handy. Ah, man. Ah, shit. Must be in this part out here. But this is a perfect example of Why this guy cracks me up. Oh man, where is it at? Damn it. I'm wasting your time. Don't you hate me for it? Oh shit. Can't find it. Oh, here we go. Yeah. He said, it says, I'll read you it in context. He said, only 500,000 people, the people in the country houses, definitely benefited from the existing system. Moreover, the tendency of small business to merge together into large ones robbed more and more of the moneyed class of their function and turned them into mere owners, their work being done for them by salaried managers and technicians. For long past there had been in England an entirely functionless class, living on money that was invested they hardly knew where, the idle rich, the people whose photographs you could look at in the Tatler or the Bystander, always supposing that you would want to. The existence of these people was by any standard unjustifiable. They were simply parasites, less useful to society than his fleas are to a dog. Okay, man, why don't you just piss off the richest and most powerful people in your country? Parasites, no more useful. No more useful than fleas are to his dog. Damn. I was like, damn. Yeah, and there's that other part in there I was talking about where he was like, I can find that part real quick. But yeah, he's like, as I write, highly civilized human beings are flying overhead trying to kill me. They do not feel any enmity against me as an individual, nor I against them. They are only doing their duty, as the saying goes. And yeah, the guy wasn't a prolific writer, but I think it's one of the great feats. Like it's the most depressing book I ever read, 1984. But I think it's one of the great feats, having written a novel myself and understanding how much energy it takes even to write a competent novel, let alone a great novel. But this guy's dying of tuberculosis while he's writing 1984. And it's like, how in the fuck did he do that? Because, like, you know, that is some harsh, depressing material he's writing in there. And to, man, that took some courage to do that. Because that dude is fucking dying, you know, and he's writing something that is just that dark on the way out. You know, there's descriptions of him like coughing with his tuberculosis, and you know, some days only being able to write, or just only being able to attempt to write. I guess he had like people in the house with him that were like either servants or maybe his wife. I don't know. I don't remember from the documentary that I watched. But they were like, you know, he was struggling the whole time that he was writing that book. He was, you know, fighting for his life or fighting to stay alive while he was writing that. Now, when I wrote my book, which is a dark book, I was 30 years old, man. I mean, I could pick up 200 pounds like it was nothing. You know, I was in shape. I had glorious locks of hair. I had not begun to lose my hair yet. I should I should show you my. Actually, I'll since I got to move Avi this crap together. I'll show you a picture of me. I had an idea for a video with that picture, But I'll just show you a picture of me when I was youngish. I'm holding up a 20-pound fish. Like, if I held up a 20-pound fish nowadays, I'd be staggering all over the place. But I'm holding up a 20-pound fish like it's a bluegill. And, I don't know how old I am there. I'm somewhere in between 28 and 34. And somewhere during my writing days, I remember it was that picture was taken. But anyways, I had something to talk about, more to talk about than I wanted to talk about. But yeah, um, that scooter doesn't have a whole lot of shocks, man. It'll shake you up. It likes a smooth road, and you are not going off road with that thing. It don't have no clearance to it at all. It's like I was riding on the sidewalks on this one part of the road because I didn't have any choice. And I'm like, I wonder if this thing's going to scrape bottom just going down sidewalks, you know. Whereas this blue beast over here, man, it's made for off-road stuff. The problem is it's not made for these streets around here, man. I'm not selling that thing. If I can get used to that, man, because I was thinking about it today. It's like I was like, well, 5.5 or so miles an hour. My brother only lives like 8 miles away, you know. But then I would have to take the back roads. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, it would actually take me 2 hours to get to his house, and it's 8.8 miles away. Because yeah, 5 miles an hour. Even if I had a straight shot there, that's almost an hour and a half to get to his house. On this thing, I just go at 4 o'clock in the morning and go down the main drag, which is it goes. They call it Lincoln Way in Maslin. It turns into Tusk and Canton, and I just go down the main drag when there's hardly any traffic. That thing lights up like a Christmas tree, and just floor it and take up one lane of traffic. Everybody will see there's a slow vehicle by slow 20 to 40 miles an hour, and it's got a seatbelt on it and shit, and just I'll be there in no time. He just go off a tusk. I did that before with the electric bike, and electric bike could haul ass too. Not as fast as that thing probably. I don't know because I've never been able to ride that successfully. I was able to injure myself successfully with it and smash into a junk car really well, but I've never, I don't have the balls enough to get back on that thing. Not around here. Not with the streets like they are around here. I would have to take that somewhere and practice it. But you can go off road with that because it's got all kind of clearance, and it's got shocks in it like that thing that I got out there that I rode this morning. You feel all the bumps and everything. You don't feel it with that. And shit, I don't know if you can see the seat to it, but it's even got like a seat where I can adjust the headrest to it and everything. It's got the rear view mirrors. It's got the motorcycle type throttle and brakes and stuff, whereas this walker thing, it has automatic braking, which is annoying as fuck because as soon as you let go of the throttle, man, it stops. There's no gradual braking to it. The way you brake, or the way you have to brake, is you turn the throttle down and then you stop. But if you're going as fast as you can go on it and then you let go of the throttle, you just go forward. And I'm not even sure if that thing can climb a hill. I mean, it did not seem very powerful to me at all. But anyways, that's my day. That was my day. That was my day. Like I said, one shoe, couldn't find my phone, didn't know if it worked. Nervous as hell about mess with that scooter. I felt a little better because I lifted it. It's got a handle on the back, and I was able to lift it and move the back of it. So I was like, yeah, worst comes to worst, I won't get it wedged on the wheelchair ramp. If I can get off of it and get behind it, I can lift it, you know, because I am just that strong. Um, so, I did it in front of the Meals on Wheels guy. I was like, yeah, this thing's heavy. And I just reached down and picked it up and lifted the back end of it, and I'm going, oh, okay. I can apparently lift at least 150 pounds with one hand. The Warvet weighed 130 pounds. That kind of explains a lot. When I grabbed a hold of his arm and was shaking him around, trying to shake some sense into him. Um, yeah. I used to be inordinately powerful. I got the video where I got like the broken arm in a chair and shit. But I used to be like unusually strong because it was a compensatory thing for having problems with my legs, and it was also like a genetic thing, and it was also like I always liked lifting weights. From the age I was of 15, I lifted weights off and on. I once lifted weights on steroids, but it was proper use of steroids because I was recovering from one of my surgeries, and they gave me steroids to help me recover. And man, all it did was make me want to eat. And then when I would lift weights, it was like I would fly up through the weights because I had a lot of experience lifting weights by then. So I could go from like 10 pounders to 15 pounders to 20 pounders in like 2 weeks. But boom, 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 is up the ladder. I'm like, holy crap, this stuff's like magic. But you have to stop taking it because it's bad for your liver. They really didn't want me lifting weights and pumping iron. I was like, I felt obligated. I had steroids. That's what you do with steroids, right? That's what Mark McGuire was doing with them at the time. He started out like in 1987. It was around 1987 when I was taking them. Um, so they were really supposed to be for helping out my legs, but they weren't not going to help out my legs, frankly. Um, but lots and lots and lots of walking and a lot of work, which I put in. But anyways, um, now that totally fragmented everything. Talking about that, but it's all like a collage or a mismatch or a mosaic in my mind. When you've had a life like mine, there's really no continuity to it because none of it makes any sense. I mean, a lot of the stuff I've been talking to you about in the last couple of weeks, like being asked to pay 3 times for unlimited minutes, and then like calling a dentist and needing dental work really bad, and they have like all their computers are down. Finding one shoe, like right before you have to go somewhere. I mean, a lot of this stuff just doesn't make any sense. Like getting shocked twice and sent home in an ER for AFib, and then they want to keep you and put you on like 8 different drugs. It's like the last 2 times they shocked me. I'm like, what is different about this time? None of it makes any sense. And when none of it makes any sense, and your mind is clouded sometimes with substances that they have you on while you're recovering from these illnesses, and it just all becomes like a collage of just a bunch of weird events, and you can't keep the order straight. That's why I could never write an autobiography or anything like that. It's like I can't keep all that crap straight. I would have to have help. I mean, a lot of times I will remember stuff after I talk about it on here. I'll be like, oh, okay. Now I remember what, it'll take me a minute. Like the story about my father. How can anybody forget that? Where I was talking about, I forgot it. I was like, how can anybody forget that? If your father talks about being a private in the army and waiting in helping his drill sergeant get drunk enough in order to kick him down the steps and almost kick him to death, to where he's all busted up with broken ribs and butterfly stitching all over his face from the cuts and everything. And they have to face the commanding officer and for one of two reasons or both. Um, the sergeant guy, the commanding officer guy says, I heard something went down between you two because, there were witnesses. I mean, if people start up shit in a bar, people are gonna want to go out and watch the fight. What they didn't understand is my dad did not believe in fighting. He believed in life and death, me or you, blood on the floor. That's so. He was like, after you, to the sergeant, kicked him in the middle of the back, knocked him down the steps, and then just stomped the living shit out of him. While all these other people were watching. And so when the sergeant was asked about it by the commanding officer, he just said, nothing happened between us, sir. I got too drunk and just fell down the steps. Now, he said that. I originally, when I told that story, I said that he said that because no sergeant would want to let it be known that would ruin his credibility, that a private did that to him. But the other thing that I wasn't thinking of is, like, he barely got out of there with his life. He's thinking maybe the next time I piss this psycho off, in other words, like, if I get this guy in trouble somehow, or, like, not caring about my reputation, say, listen, man, this guy bushwhacked me and kicked the living shit out of me with army boots, and gets him in trouble. Maybe the next time I don't survive. I didn't think about that. That could have been a possibility involved in there too. But what I'm saying is, like, how do you forget hearing a story like that as we're sitting there playing like poker for pennies at a table? And I don't know how old I was. I mean, I wasn't young either. I was like anywhere from 15 to 25, because I went back and stayed there. I mean, I left the house when I was 20, but I would go back. And after me and my dad, like, we would make up for periodic times. And my foster brother fell on hard times and he started living there. So he was jobless. I was jobless. So I just went over there and crashed. And, like, we'd go fishing together. We go trespass at the place that we trespassed. I'll even tell you where it's at. We used to call it Wackerly. It's it's off of Wackerly Drive, man. You just keep going on Wackerly Drive, and there's a woods past Everhard Road, and you can walk past there, and there's a pond there that used to have every damn species of fish. It was like McGilligot's Pool from Dr. Seuss. It had every species of fish in there you could imagine, man. My foster brother hooked a pike in there, but we caught pike out of there. We caught pickerel out of there. We caught largemouth bass. We caught crappie. We caught channel catfish. Everything was in there, man. And it was a little tiny pond, but it was private. So, anyways, like, sometime he was living in his car. I don't know how he got to be homeless or whatever, but family are the people that will always take you back, supposedly, right? This is the family later on that he abandoned, of course, but they took him, man. He bought this Buick fancy ass car that just blew up. He had nothing, so he was either sleeping in his car or crawling back to my mom and dad's house and sleeping there. So we had this big bag of homegrown, And that's when I first discovered that like there was a link between THC and the pleasure centers of your brain, and if you watched pornography, um, it was like suddenly much more interesting and better if you're freaking smoking weed, even if it's homegrown. That's the first time I discovered the link between that. But it was a ridiculous bag, man. It was almost like it was like this of homegrown. So we would just be smoking this homegrown stuff that probably wouldn't get anybody in the year of our Lord 2019 high at all. And we'd smoke the homegrown, man, and then we'd go down and relive our childhood a little bit. And I don't remember how we were in our 20s, but you know, I stayed there and did a lot of fishing with them and stuff. And shit, I can't even remember what year that was. I don't remember this shit. I'm just saying, if I can forget a story like, you know, my dad nearly killing that sergeant, and then, you know, that's cinematic shit right there, man. Where like, uh, uh, you know, sir, I just fell down the steps, you know, and then my dad doesn't have a mark on him. That's like something you'd see in a fucking Martin Scorsese movie, you know, where my dad's doing the De Niro stomp on this guy, like all around him, making sure to get all those ribs cracked or busted, you know. He was like, man, that guy was a mess after I got through with him. He said, I never threw a punch. I never did nothing but kick him, you know. And he's like, and I had boots on. So, uh, but yeah, I can't remember all that shit. I, and to remember it in order, I couldn't remember all that in order. If I could forget something like that, I mean, that should leave an impression on it on a young man, you know. But I guess I had heard already so many stories and, you know, witnessed the power of the man. There's some people in this world that are given an unnatural and unhealthy and unfair amount of vitality, and my dad was one of them. And my niece is one of them too, as well. She's of a similar vein, and neither one of them do you want to fuck with. I mean, they were night and day. You know, it was a tiny little woman, and largish, because he was only 5'11", but he went around 200. You know, but I've seen him do things that just feats of strength that you only get that strong either like, you know, there's people that are just naturally strong, and then there's like people that are farm strong, and he was like, I think he was both. I seen him do some crazy shit, so maybe that's why it didn't leave no impression on me. And plus, you know, after hearing about him, you know, killing people and hearing about him hospitalizing people, it's just another story. So maybe that's why I don't remember it. Anyways, I know my limited audience just loves the hell out of hearing uh, me yammer on and whatnot. But I am getting a little bit hoarse, and my throat is getting a little bit sore. So um, one of these times I'm gonna sing to you when I'm in good voice. Maybe I can do a better job with "You Got to Walk That Lonesome Valley" by Mississippi John Hurt or something like that. That guy's name is Boyd Rivers, who does that song that I was trying to sing, where it's "You got to take sick and die one of these days," because you know all the medicine you can buy and all the doctors you can hire, you still got to get sick and die one of these days. You know, it has a relevance for me that maybe it doesn't have for other people, but you know, I continue to navigate this existence as well as I can. And I'm just grateful that that wasn't a pipe burst up. I didn't think it was a pipe burst, but if it's a pipe burst, it's like a major emergency. If it's a pipe issue, but it was a pipe issue, all right. Probably, man, they were running some water in the sink for the dishes or something like that, and bowling up, man. Because I was like, man, what the fuck, you know? And they wouldn't answer the door, or they were pretending like they weren't home, and the fucking car's outside, you know. And they're not supposed to be living here, and they've already got booted out of here once, with the landlord already telling her that, like, you know, you're the only one that's on the lease. You don't get these extra people out of here that are costing me money and running up my bill. I'm gonna kick you out, you know. And I don't know what grounds he would use to do that with. Um, maybe maybe Stark Metro doesn't approve of that. You know, Stark Metro Housing doesn't approve of extra people in the house. I don't know, but I'm kind of in the mood to be confrontational. So you know, you don't want to fuck with me. Trust me, they don't want to, because I'm under a lot of stress, and that's one way to relieve stress. I used to enjoy that moment a lot when I was younger. The moment where, like, I'm not really Steve anymore. I'm just this is crazy motherfucker. And yeah, I'm just in the moment, and I'm going to hurt you very badly or get hurt. But I don't really care about getting hurt. That moment where you let go, you know, it's almost like a moment of abandonment or joy. And I remember that from being a child, because you got to remember I had a spinal tumor when I was 16, but I was probably in 50 fights before the age of 16. Then after I was 16, you know, I'm just trying to survive and stuff. And I never had any fights after that. I had confrontations. I had, you know, doo 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 doo, kind of like, you know, like, yeah, like, okay, buddy, you want a piece of this? Come get it. Or like, I'd be like, whoa, okay, dude, chill. All right, you the alpha. Walk around you, you know. But there's been a few times where I did not care if who was the alpha or what was going to happen, and I got away with it. So you know, now the time that I told the cop to fuck off, there wasn't a question of alpha. It's not a question of alpha when you're fucking with cops, because the cops are, you know, it's like fucking with the Crip or a Blood, man. The cop do whatever he want to you if there ain't no cameras around. And I know this from my cop buddy. It's like there's a blue wall there, man. It'd be like, you know, them didn't make something up. You just make something up, you know. Like, hey, man, the guy took a swing at me, and so I had to break his jaw. You know, I had to hit him with the nightstick and break his ribs, because he wasn't cooperating. You know, it's the cop's word against yours. And I had, like I said, I had that moment in the park where I looked around and I'm like, it's dawn in a park, and I'm like, it's a big park, and I'm like, there's nobody here but me and two cops, and one of them is very angry and has a nightstick out. Okay, this alpha male losing your temper stuff, none of this shit applies right now, because however this comes out, I'm going to be a loser. If I was such a badass that I could take out two well-armed police officers, uh, it's still not going to matter, because I'm going to be a fugitive. It's not going to matter, because they probably already radioed the shit in. and it's not going to come out that way anyway. Now, I don't know if I told you this story before, but this happened. I probably did. But my brother in Georgia got stopped by a cop, and he actually pulled the guy's gun out of his holster and threw the cop's gun as far as he could away from him and said, "All right, man, what you gonna do now?" In other words, we gonna fight. There ain't gonna be no guns. You don't got your gun. You ain't got shit. You know, he still had stuff on his belt, but before he could reach for the stick, before he could reach for the mace, my brother would have been all over him because my brother was a bar fighter and scary dude. So what the cop did is he already had the shit called in, and he just ran to his car, locked the door, and waited for the other cops to come and beat the fuck out of my brother. So I was probably looking at a situation. I don't think they really called the cops, extra cops in on me. But my brother is a different case, you know. Yeah, my brother was a different case entirely. He did a good job of teaching me how to box, though. I'll give him that, and I have much love for him because he did stuff with me that my father should have been doing, like teaching me how to fight. Didn't teach me anything about women. Um, he took me fishing when he didn't have to. He took me fishing once when he was so hungover that he passed out in the yard and had dew on him. And he promised to take us fishing. And he still took us fishing, even though he was passed out in the yard from being that fucking drunk. And major respect, major props to him over that, you know. Um, but yeah, he wasn't nobody to fuck with, man. But he actually did that, you know. He's not a liar either. And unfortunately, he had to kill somebody in Georgia, so he moved up here. And, you know, guy pulled a knife on him and was robbing the wrong motherfucker, that's all. And shit happens. And that's why he's living up here, and that's why he moved. He had a beautiful plan worked out down there, and it would have worked out perfectly. Where Atlanta kept expanding, so he was buying this piece of land that was on the outskirts of Atlanta. Where I went down and visited him when I was in my, I was like 21, 22 years old. I went down there and visited him. It was like one of my first major trips. I stuck $800 in my sock and just took off, you know, ready for adventure, man. Hit the road a running, looking for adventure. That's the first time I got high was off a contact buzz with the people that I went down there, and they just dropped me off down there by myself to see my brother in Georgia. And there wasn't nothing down there, and that's like where my story is, where I was sunbathing naked because there wasn't nobody around, and a wolf spider sitting right here. They're like a mini tarantula. You can see their eyes and shit, and they're semi-poisonous. And little Miss Muffet, she jumped out of that tuffet, man. I don't like spiders, man. I jumped up and shit. And then later on, the nearest neighbor's like a long way away, but she's an older lady, and she was an older lady to me then, because I was like in my early 20s. She was like, "Oh yeah, I seen you before," and I was thinking, "Oh shit, man." She probably saw me jump up naked when that damn wolf spider was laying beside me. But that's when all that shit happened in Georgia. Anyway, that's enough yammering out of me. That's 51 minutes right there, and then I got to tack on the other 18 minutes, and then I got to tack on the picture at the end of this of me when I was young and extremely handsome and powerful, and did not enjoy the beauty and power of my youth, because when you're not right in the head, man, you're just not right in the head. So now I'm a little bit more centered. I have a little bit more sense, but I also have a lot less teeth, a lot less hair, and a lot more problems. You know, a chick magnet I am not. So, goodbye.
I believe in miracles. Where you from? You sexy thing, you. I believe in miracles. Since you came along.